from the ashes to school the masses. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 141 of the Scholars of Wrestling Show. I am your man behind the microphone, Scholar Jeff. To my right is Scholar Tarek.
Driving along. Oh, hit a roadblock. Excuse me. Backing up. And now circle around it, because we just passed roadblock.
And you know what? I don't know about you, but this was a particularly enjoyable WWE roadblock for me.
I don't have any real problems. At least not right now. I'll get into more detail about it.
Well, yeah, you know what? Let's just dive right into it. So let's go right into WWE Roadblock, the review. Starting with the kickoff show, Rusev defeating Big Cass by countout. I'm not surprised this happened in the slightest.
I could see why they do it, or why they did it, but it was just... It's not a very interesting feud for me. It's one of the biggest low points of the Raw feuds. Honestly, I didn't care. I said it before, and I'll say it again. I don't like that it's now, particularly for Roadblock, we'll get into Raw later, that the whole feud right now is just the way for them to continue a singles push for Big Cass.
Really? That's what you took away?
That's what I'm taking away from the whole feud in general. It's Enzo being stupid, and Big Cass is the one fighting his battle. There's no tag team going on. It's just beat up Enzo, and Big Cass looks strong against Rusev.
I don't know. If this was all it was, if we didn't get to Monday Night Raw, then I'd say, okay, I can see where you might be getting that from. But I was left with a very, very different interpretation of events after Monday Night Raw. But again, we'll get to that. As far as this little thing was concerned, that reason, what you just described, since it is sort of the middle match in this whole feud.
Is it a middle match? I actually think it's the beginning of the, I think this is their first real match together.
Yeah, so basically it's not really nearing the end point at all.
It's a very rough start, and I'm not liking it. I'm not sold.
The point being, it's very early on. Nothing's really even happened yet, and because I don't want to say the stakes aren't there, but the same gravitas isn't quite there yet.
I can say that. There is no real stakes.
Because the stakes haven't really been planted yet. Either way, Enzo hasn't really gotten in there as much as he really should have. He's not in there yet, so this is early on, and it's at a point where I can definitely see why this is on the pre-show as opposed to the main card. The build just isn't there yet.
I'm just thinking it's your optimism looking into this.
Yep.
But it's just, I can't. From what they're presenting me so far, it's all stemming from the fact that Enzo is actually doing something ethically wrong, making moves on another man's wife. The husband is defending the wife, yet he's the heel. And Cass is being the one defending the man who was hitting on another man's wife.
And that's why this is on the pre-show.
And that's why this feud is stupid. I don't like this feud.
And that's why this thing isn't remotely even heating up yet.
I hate the spot that both sides are on. I love Rusev. I love Enzo and Cass, and they're both sides are just being booked terribly in this.
True, but again, I'm confident in at least Enzo alone that he can bounce back from this.
Oh, I think both sides can bounce back from this. I just for me, it looks like it's turning into another rendition of like Dolph Ziggler and Lana with Rusev and Summer Rae. It's not the exact same thing, obviously. It's giving me that vibe.
I know it's a very skeevy vibe, and I really generally don't like these types of storylines. But anyway, it'll either it cannot help but get better, or just fade off and end and go into something better.
I hope so.
I really have no other way to think about this other than, you know what? Enzo's talented, Rusev's talented. Something's got to break eventually. Everything will be fine.
What about Cass? You said Enzo's talented, Rusev's talented. What about Big Cass?
What about Big Cass?
He's talented too. Not as talented as the other two, but he is talented.
Yeah, I guess.
I'll put Enzo and Rusev on level 3 and Big Cass on level 1.5.
This is an accurate assessment.
Or wait, did I say Enzo again? Big Cass 1.5.
I know what you mean. We all know what you mean.
I do like Big Cass though.
Yeah, he's all right. Again, he's more at Diesel level now, whereas he needs a little bit more to push him up to Kevin Nash tier.
Okay.
He's just missing a little something, but he'll get there. Anywho, next up we had a history-making match. Cesaro and Sheamus defeated the New Day to become the new tag team title champions. Wow,
I'm sorry. You want to go for that again?
Okay, let me back up. Cesaro and Sheamus defeated the New Day to become the new WWE Tag Team Champions.
You did it wrong again. The new Raw Tag Team Champions.
Whatever. Tag champs, new.
Okay.
Cesaro, Sheamus, New Day, lose. Yes.
I liked this match a lot. The result of it, I'm 50-50. I both love and hate it. I love because my man Cesaro is now a champion. Granted, it's the tag team champion. But the one way I look at it is from this meme that I saw that it has a picture of Sheamus and Randy Orton, and it's saying 2 former world champions are tag team champions, and it shows Cesaro and Bray Wyatt, 2 up-and-comers that are getting the right push. And I'm like, I look at it, and I just think, that is very accurate, and I am all for it. Both Cesaro and Bray Wyatt getting basically a good bump from former world champions.
Mm-hmm.
I approve of that, and I think and on both cases it's working.
Especially in Cesaro's case, where, well, in Sheamus's case too, where they deliberately took down the longest reigning tag champs in history now,
and that
after Demolition,
and that's my problem, because looking at it. It's just, we broke the record? All right. Thank you for breaking the record. Middle finger to Demolition for suing WWE. Have a nice day. I just feel like, okay, now that they broke the record, now we could take the titles off them. I said it with Brian last week on the prediction show. I felt like now that they broke the record, and after their moment with the Club and the Shield on Tribute to the Troops, to really help solidify, they don't need it, but I feel like now that they're they are such a huge deal, being the longest reigning champions, I feel like when they lose the title, it should have been on a bigger show like Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, that type of deal. It's basically, now these guys are the longest reigning champs. The people who will beat them will get a nice rub, because these guys are the longest reigning champs, and it's not just because they want to beat Demolition's record. Okay, wham, bam, thank you, man. Take the titles off you.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
I mean, like I said, I'm happy that Cesaro and Sheamus won.
Right, I know. Yeah, but even so, just the way it was executed, even though you knew it had to happen at some point, it just seemed too convenient. So much to the point where you kind of had a feeling it could happen, and now you're watching the puppet show and you're seeing the strings, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I was with Brian. I was tired of the New Day as tag team champions as well. But when they actually broke the record and they were celebrating, and then they had the Tribute to the Troops moment, I was like, you know what? It's because they're the tag team champions I don't like them. But when it's the New Day characters themselves and the wrestlers, I do like them.
Oh yeah, they're fantastic.
I'm still huge fans of them. I was just tired of them being tag team champions, and it may be hypocritical. It's like, okay, now I want them to keep going, but I actually have a legit reason for them to keep going, not just because, okay, now that they broke Demolition's record, you can drop them. It was just too convenient. It was just it's not really great storytelling. It was very abrupt. I mean, Cesaro and Sheamus are the ones that should have taken the tag titles off them, and I'm glad that they were. Mm-hmm. It's just I feel like with those two, it should have been at a bigger event. Maybe I would prefer the Royal Rumble.
I'm sure I actually agree with you. But at the same time, I also don't want to diminish the effectiveness of what we did get and what worked well. The dynamic of what we did get out of Cesaro and Sheamus alone
in the match,
especially after that, these two I think are really starting to hit their stride. I'm not sure it almost gave me a brief little glimpse into like the next version of Team Hell No. Obviously, the dynamic isn't quite the same, but even so, there's still something there where basically Cesaro is a face and Sheamus is a heel, whereas where he keeps trying to take the belts, and then Cesaro is jumping into the crowd and celebrating with the Cesaro section. I don't know. To me, that it was just a fun little dynamic, a nice little twist on things we haven't seen in a while.
I do like what they're doing with Cesaro and Sheamus too. I just it's nowhere close to the status of Team Hell No, but I do see where you're coming from. Like
it was an imperfect analogy.
Like
yes.
Daniel Bryan was the heel, and Kane was the face when they first teamed up, but the difference between that, I don't really see Sheamus being he gets beats. This will slowly turn him back to being a face. I feel like people are not liking on Sheamus too much, not just because of character. It's just because even half of our friends are tired of are sick of Sheamus. It's that kind of ordeal. Like people are just so not into Sheamus anymore. I just don't see him turning back into a face and getting the popularity he did when his first face run. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's mostly because people were burned out of seeing him do the same stuff over and over. And I think that's sort of, for lack of a better word, hiatus from a sort of a main event title picture. I think that's good for him. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but my perception on Sheamus has changed. Like now I'm a little bit more... Now my focus has been sort of diverted elsewhere for a while. Now that Sheamus is back in the title picture again now, especially now that he's working with Cesaro, and he's gotten rid of some of that stupid facial hair, now I'm a little bit more receptive to what Sheamus is doing now. Now I'm able to focus in on it again and enjoy Sheamus again.
Well, I've never gotten really tired of Sheamus. I've just been hating how he's been booked, a.k.a. League of Nations.
Right. And again, to be fair, his booking has just been really stale lately. It's just...
Well, not now.
Bad stuff, one after another. I think, basically, the short version is, I think this is what he really, really needed in a big way.
Mm-hmm. Even though Cesaro is going to be the breakout star of them, too, which...
He damn well better.
Damn right. He deserves.
Yeah. But even so, this is something that both guys can really get something out of for the time being.
Mm-hmm.
Sheamus gets a nice little change of pace, going to freshen himself up, and Cesaro gets the rub and the attention that he desperately deserves. And New Day can finally move on and do something different for a while.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'm concerned, everybody wins.
Yeah.
So, cheers for Cesaro and Sheamus. Good job, gentlemen. Can't wait to see what happens next. Anyway, moving on to the next match, we've got Sami Zayn beating Braun Strowman after meeting the 10-minute time limit. This one was honestly better than I was expecting.
Of course, Mick Foley was going to come out and basically be a time killer here. Brian and I, when we were doing the prediction show, we weren't sure how, what would happen if the 10-minute mark was up. We don't know if it was just going to be a draw, which it traditionally is, or is that they're going to count it as a Sami Zayn win. So when we made the prediction, we just basically put the prediction. We wrote it as a draw, but we also made the statement of, will the 10-minute mark, will they reach the 10-minute mark? And we said yes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a point.
Yeah, it was sort of unclear, so I understand where it came from. There's... Because most matches will have either a 10-minute or 20-minute time limit.
Mm-hmm.
But meanwhile, this wasn't a time limit per se. This was more of a time challenge. Like the goal for Sami Zayn to register a victory was to last 10 minutes without getting pinned or tapped out.
Which, in a certain way, he still kind of technically lost because, Braun forced him to kick out twice.
Very true. But again, that's part of the point.
This match was storytelling.
Exactly.
It was great
Strowman's
storytelling.
Hubris cost him the match. If he had stayed on Sami and taken the whole match seriously, it really does look like it was pretty convincing that Braun Strowman would have crushed Sami Zayn. Until that last little bit at the end where it looks like he was coming back and he could potentially take out Braun Strowman.
I love that he hit the haluva kick.
Yes. And really, this is, in my opinion, I don't know what you think, but this, to me, is an example of how you do sort of an ambiguous finish right, where you have one guy win, but you still have the other guy looking very strong. This is how you do it, and it's a rarity when you can see WWE in particular pull off something this good off.
I really can't argue that because I can't.
So don't.
So I won't. Yeah, exactly. Everything that should have happened in this match did happen. No, even though Sami did get his ass handed to him most of the match. I mean, look at Braun Strowman. He is a ginormously freaky dude that once wore a Wonder Woman Halloween costume. That's why I love him so much.
I bleach. I thought you liked him for Spotlight.
That too. I like Braun Strowman because he is one of the most interesting things going on Raw. Period.
He actually is. He's actually a big threatening hoss who actually talks like a big threatening hoss.
He is awesome in every sense. And you could see he's getting better and better in the ring, and that's why if once they have a Braun Strowman shirt, which I actually did look up to see if they did, they don't. Sadly. Once he gets a shirt, I am buying it. I am a huge Braun Strowman fan. I love it. Braun!
I know. It's hard for me to get excited about a big, muscly hoss man, but this guy, there's something special about this guy. And it seems like they're giving him the slow burn treatment. It seems like they're doing the right thing by Braun right now.
Oh, you want to know what they're doing right with Braun? They're having him call out the slow treatment is bullshit. Because he was getting all the squash matches, and then he started getting tired of the squash matches, which is something people that they've never done with people who are getting squash matches. He gotten so tired of it, he's just calling them out. It's like, are you seriously giving me all this? Where's the real challenge here? No one has done that before. And he just was like, you know what, this is crap. I want competition.
It's fresh and it's not insulting the crowd's intelligence.
Exactly. And that's why I respect Braun so much as the character as well. This was great storytelling. Both guys didn't get hurt in this.
I was really expecting Mick Foley to, just with him being the Rocky fan that he is, I was expecting him to replicate Rocky 4 and be like, oh yeah, Sami was going to be like, don't throw it, and then he just ends, Braun Strowman just ends up killing Sami Zayn. If he dies, he dies. And then it sets off an entire big rehab revenge match between Mick Foley and Braun Strowman.
The man is needing surgery soon. He is not getting in the ring.
But like Rocky, he can go and train in the mountains and fight Braun Strowman in the hills of Russia.
Stop it. All right, let's
move on. If I can change, you can change.
Let's move on.
Anybody can change. Speaking of
change,
actually, I got no segue for that. Seth Rollins defeated Chris Jericho.
This was just a normal match. I'm not gonna lie. It was a good match, but it was pretty much it was Raw quality for me.
Yeah, it's kind of textbook. What would you expect from two guys like this?
I'm not saying they did a bad job.
Oh, I know.
It was a good match. It's just there was nothing on it that was memorable. And that's really something to say about this event in all. It was good, nothing memorable.
Yeah, you can tell they're sort of saving a lot of their really good stuff, but it's not like the show as a whole is really missing anything.
Mm.
That being said, as far as this match goes, I don't know. I think this is another one of those matches where I need to rewatch again with fresh eyes, Because at the time, I'm not sure if I was just sort of conditioned to the kind of storytelling that Braun Strowman and Sami Zayn just got done telling. But I don't know. It just seemed like I couldn't tell if it was my enthusiasm lacking or just something having to do with the match itself. Again, like you said, it wasn't bad, but this is definitely one I want to watch again and sort of see if I can check it out with new eyes, see if it's better than I expected the first time around, or if it's just sort of the mediocre thing that I experienced the first time.
The one thing that I was telling Brian is because they're now focusing on Triple H, like Seth Rollins' mission to Triple H. Of course, Seth Rollins was going to get the win. He was thinking that this was because of the whole potential Jericho Kevin Owens breakup, that Jericho needed the win to go after the Universal title.
Pretty much.
But I never thought they were going to have Jericho go for the United States, the Universal Championship.
At least not right now.
I don't know. I'm not very convinced that he's going to go after it at all. I love Jericho to death. He's one of the best things happening on Raw. But I just don't see him going for another title, or at least major title shot.
Wait, underestimating Jericho going after the title?
No. I'm just thinking, okay, I'm 46 years old. I don't need another title run.
Actually, I was just setting you up for a "you just made the list" joke, but okay, yeah.
Well, I just dodged the list, so ha. Besides, only Jericho...
Dodging the list? You just made the list.
Only Jericho can put me on the list.
Only on the list of Jericho.
Only on the list of Jericho. You know what? I'll just post this episode on Jericho's Twitter and see if he listens to it. It's like, oh, you doubt me going for a title shot? Tarek Awar, you just made the list! It's not going to happen, but one can dream.
He'll just think we're a bunch of stupid idiots, but whatever.
I'll accept that too.
I will accept that too. We love you, Chris.
We know we know your favorite Batman's still Michael Keaton.
You keep doing you, Chris.
Gross.
Ew. I'm talking about being a good wrestler. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about good wrestlers.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because speaking of good wrestlers, Cruiserweight title. Rich Swann defeated T.J. Perkins and the Brian Kendrick.
It was a very slow match for a Cruiserweight match.
Yeah, and then Neville came out and ruined everything.
Actually, no, he didn't. Neville, well, what did he ruin? The match was over already.
I know. He ruined people's days, specifically Swann, Perkins, and Kendrick. I just like saying that.
I just really wish they just moved the Cruiserweight division to just 205 Live. It's not doing anything for them to be on Raw.
At least not enough. I've got a feeling that's what they're going to end up doing. With the
Cruiserweight division on Raw, all it is just time filler. That's what they're treating it as. I'm not saying it should be, because I like the idea of the Cruiserweight division. It's just that they're booking it in such a terrible way. It's really hurting the fact that it's on Raw.
You know, I actually heard a perfect analogy to I guess, to solve what you just described. You're familiar with who Max Landis is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he just recently posted a video about a conversation he had with Seth Rollins. Because apparently he's doing like consulting work for WWE now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
According to him, anyway. So anyway, he tells a story that he had a conversation with Seth Rollins about the role of the cruiserweights and what they're doing, and he said the same exact same thing you said. Max Landis did. How they're not really part of the show. They're more of their own separate segment of the show. And so they feel almost separate from the rest of the main roster, quote unquote, even though they're on every single Monday night. So instead, one way to like incorporate them, like one good thing that used to happen in the past is like, even though there were different segments, there was this element that anyone can sort of bleed over. Anyone from one segment can bleed over into another segment. And the example he gave of this is how to do it better is, let's say that there's a cruiserweight match, and then after the match, Braun Strowman comes out and just starts wrecking shop and just like destroys everyone, throws them out of the ring, and then he's just like, get these small guys off my show, I want a real challenge. and then while he's distracted and running his mouth, the two cruiserweight guys will just like team up and just like drop kick him out of the ring. He's just like, he just sort of stares at them, they stare back, and then that's sort of where he leaves it. It's just like a segment on Raw.
I don't like any of that.
And apparently neither did Seth Rollins. He said, okay, who does that get over? And that's sort of the discrepancy that sort of is going on right here. To what Max Landis described, it gets over the division.
No, it doesn't.
It gets over... let me finish. It gets over the division. It sets up the seeds for future feuds, for future character interactions. And then Seth Rollins just looks at him like, okay, which individuals is this getting over? Who gets over? Again,
no one really.
And that's the point that was trying to be made here. It's not getting over one particular person. It's about getting over the segment. It's about getting over the show.
The division?
Yeah, it's about starting a storyline that can get more people over, more individuals over in the long run. It's more about like setting the stage.
I don't see any of that working.
Again, he describes it a lot better than I did. I just gave you the abridged version.
For me, the only way they can really make the the Cruiserweight division work is have them be their own show similar to NXT, and have them be the warm-up show for Smackdown. Like, you know how Superstars or Main Event or whatever show they have that they didn't get rid of, how they are for Raw. Have them be the warm-up stuff for SmackDown to get the crowd into the show, and then SmackDown begins. So instead of having them be at the end of SmackDown and the people leave because they don't care, have them be the warm-up show to get people started, and then just take the recording and film it where that same spot where they had the Cruiserweight Classic, which was right after NXT.
I'm still not sure.
Hardcore network fans who are hardcore wrestling fans and respect the Cruiserweights, like how they were respectful in the Cruiserweight Classic, will watch.
Yeah, but even so, I would still really like to keep that element of these guys can still show up on the main roster.
They're not.
But not yet, anyway.
They're not going to. It's a dumb idea to put them on the main roster.
Why?
Because they'll just be booked as enhancement talent.
Not if they do it right.
They're not going to. It's WWE. They're not going to do it right.
There are elements where they can do it right.
Have just a simple Cruiserweight show and people will watch. I will watch that.
Of course they will. But personally, it's not saying that idea is bad, but I'm just saying more that I see more potential other than just keeping them on their own show, not more than just keeping them on their own segment, however you want to quantify that. That being said, do I think they should do it right away? No. I think you need more time for these characters to develop. I think you need more time for them to get more exposure in the public eye, more than just going on the Brian Kendrick's nostalgia appeal. And
it's not passing on the public eye. People don't care. It just
started.
And people aren't caring about it.
Yet.
They're not going to. They're not going to.
That is way
because WWE is not caring about them. They're just using them as time filler.
That is I can't buy into that. It's just, is there a possibility it could happen? Yeah, absolutely. But it's just way, way too pessimistic for me way too early, especially, to really pass judgment on that. If I were to pass judgment on it, I just can't do it. It's way too hasty.
I just think they just need their own brand. Like how they're going to have the United Kingdom Championship be its own brand. How NXT is its own brand.
I don't know. NXT is its own brand, yes. But also the the UK Championship tournament is just sort of a standalone tournament. I really doubt it's going to be its own thing. Like
Triple H said, it's going to be his own. The tournament is a setup for its own brand.
Even then, I still don't buy it. There still needs to be, again, even if they do, I still believe the same way. It needs to start off as its own thing, but there's still plenty of room for it to expand into, to have like some select people almost graduate from that division and go into the general roster pool. Like I can see, honestly, Rich Swann starting to win me over. Dude's got some charisma, got some funkiness to him. I like funky gimmicks. Maybe it'll work out, maybe not. But personally, I can see him almost becoming like Kofi Kingston Jr. in terms of overness level. Like he could be the sort of workhorse that the sort of general, very fan-friendly, kid-friendly workhorse that Kofi Kingston was. And sort of fill that similar void.
I really want
either him or TJ Perkins. Either one of them I feel could fill that void.
I see Rich Swann more than TJ Perkins. Honestly, TJ Perkins needs to go back to being Suicide. I like TJ Perkins the wrestler, but his character is very not.
Hey guys, Nintendo 64 video games 90s reference.
He's not N64, he's Super Nintendo.
Sega Genesis.
Sega Genesis. Yeah, I'll go with Sega Genesis.
If I was that dead broke man, I couldn't picture this. But you know what I mean. This is like, it needs more time to build. It needs more time to have these people develop.
It's the question on whether or not WWE will give them time to build. And what they're doing right now, they are not doing it.
Even if it is on 205 Live, and even it's almost like, I almost treat it as almost like a comic book where everyone's got their own. Even though everyone's got their own separate books and their own separate little microcosms, occasionally they'll come together for like a crossover event. Like instead of just like,
you want a crossover event? Save it for the Big Four.
That's what I'm talking about.
But they're not going to be on the Big Four when they're sharing on a show of Raw.
It can be sort of be their way to test the waters. Plus, if they do stay on Raw, like the occasional match just on Raw or SmackDown or whatever they choose to do, that can also be a way to sort of promote the network for people who don't have it yet. Like someone who's just tuning in on, which basically all Raw and SmackDown are now anyway.
If you want them to promote the network better, like just keep them off the main show, the TV shows, keep them on the network, and just have the title matches be on the main like the special events. But Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah, but the special events are already on the network, and so that also implies that you're also going to get the network anyway.
So then you'll be like, oh,
basically,
now I'm intrigued of what they have.
Now I feel like we're sort of getting into the merits or in the role of what Raw and SmackDown are meant to be now. Where in the past, Raw and SmackDown were basically designed to be commercials for the big pay-per-views to get you to basically sell and get you to buy whatever the big thing was for the month. Now I can see them basically using Raw and SmackDown not to promote the sale of pay-per-views, but to promote the sale of the network and up subscriptions. And not only that, but also to retain subscriptions.
Mm-hmm.
So if they do that, then maybe we're sort of getting into like keeping numbers high for subscriptions. But now I feel like a salesman for WWE. The point is, no matter what they choose to do, no what you think is a good or a bad idea, this match and the division as a whole, I just see way too much potential out of so many of these guys, especially now that Jack Gallagher is on the roster.
I love Jack Gallagher.
Yeah, there awesome. You go.
I see potential in this division too. It's just it's not working on Raw. It's not at all. That's my whole point. I see potential. I loved the idea of the cruiserweight division when it was first brought up. It's just I feel like WWE is not caring on what they're doing with the division. They're not even trying to make it interesting, and because they're
trying, they're just failing.
I don't see them trying. At least, okay, we'll just throw the match just to waste time. That's not trying. That's not trying.
It was an attempt. It just wasn't a successful attempt.
I'm just very happy that Neville is going. For me, Neville deserves to be the face of the Cruiserweight division, and I can't wait for him to finally get
Evil
that belt.
Neville, day ruiner.
Is it me or Actually, you know what? We'll save that for later. That's because that's a Raw talk.
Yeah, what little Raw stuff I've got for this week. Anyway, moving on. Charlotte Flair defeated Sasha Banks in an Iron Man match for the women's title.
Honestly, I don't even know why I didn't pick Charlotte. I even said many times on prediction shows.
I wanted to believe. That's the only reason I picked Sasha.
The only reason I picked Sasha is because I didn't care. I don't care about this feud anymore. I'm glad it's over. I'm done with it. Now let's move on to Bayley versus Charlotte. I've been saying it for a long time. I am tired of Charlotte versus Sasha. I've had it with them. I'm so bored. It's the same shit, just different matches. There was actually a picture, a meme that I found of there's Trish and Lita, feud that lasted 6 years, declared the greatest female feud of all time. Charlotte and Sasha, feud lasted 6 months. Everyone's tired of it.
That's because
people are complaining that it lasted too long.
That's because they keep hot potatoing the title and there's no weight to anything.
Not only that they're hot potatoing the title, it is the fact that like they're doing all these great things for the quote women's revolution, yet it's all about them. It's not about the women. It's about Sasha and Charlotte. Do you see the Smackdown women getting promoted the way Sasha and Charlotte have? No. Do you see anyone other than Bayley get a women's division on Raw? No. The whole purpose of the feud was just to push Sasha and Charlotte, not the women's revolution, and that's why I hated it so much.
I really didn't hear anyone talking about the women's revolution. The only time I ever heard people talk about that kind of thing was whenever they were putting a big match together. I was like, "Oh, first time ever! Look how cool we are."
I just hate the first time ever. This is so history making. Yeah, for Sasha and Charlotte. We don't really what about all the other women? Hell, even the other women aren't even catching on. It's like, great. Now, what about our spots?
I would even say that they didn't even do the best job possible of putting Charlotte and Sasha over. It really came across to me as the entire company just sort of patting itself on the back and trying to put itself over.
Exactly. That's exactly it. That's another reason why I hate this. It doesn't. The difference between that and Trish Stratus and Lita's feud, people will think of it's the greatest of all time. Because even though it lasted 6 years, it's a 6-long-year feud. They took time away of Lita and Trish. But they do come back to it.
Again, it was
they add something. Burn. They add something new every time they come on. And when they had their Raw main event, which was the first time they had women main event Raw, I felt like it was more earned. This one, it's I like Sasha, I like Charlotte. They're great wrestlers. But I feel like it's not really, it's not 100% earned as Trish and Lita were. It was more publicity, like you were saying.
This is a
way to push WWE.
Exactly, and this is what you get when process interferes with content. Like every single communication. Again, now I'm getting into communication philosophy here, but I'm making a point. Trust me. With every communication, whether it's a conversation you're having with a friend or a movie you're watching or a TV show or a book you're reading or an album you're listening to, there's always two things happening. There's always the content, which is actually what's said, the words you read, the thing that you watch, in this case, the matches and segments that you watch. And then there's the process, which is how you, again, if content are the words you say, process is how you. Like if I were to say to you, "Oh, hey, Tarek, it's good to see you." It's a very different thing than if I was going to say, "Oh, Tarek, good to see you."
You again.
Yeah, my words are the same, but because of the way I said it, the message you receive is much different. This is the kind of thing we're seeing here. With the case of Trish and Lita, it was a slower burn. It felt more organic. Mm-hmm. it wasn't the company beating us over the head showing us how good they are. It was the ladies themselves in their matches, making the most of their time.
And getting the response from its fans. Yep.
And you know what? And the response showed that, and it reflected that. In the case of Charlotte and Sasha, I have the utmost, physically and talent-wise, I am convinced that these two ladies have all the tools, at least all the tools that Trish and Lita had, and I would even say even more so. However, because it seems like Stephanie and the higher-ups at WWE are on this PR kick of, hoorah women power, which in itself, again, is not a bad thing in the slightest. This is a case of them pushing it too hard and going about it the wrong way. That said, once you remove all that from the equation, when I was, talking about what you're in the mood for, and maybe my own personal mindset affecting what I saw and received, I was really ready for this match. I was really ready to see a solid Iron Man match between these two ladies. Of course, I'm always a Sasha Banks fan. I'm becoming a bigger Charlotte fan by the day, especially now that they're calling her Charlotte Flair. Really digging into that heritage. I thought that was a nice touch. That being said, I actually really enjoyed this match.
I enjoyed the end of the match. The final minute, the final 2 or 3 minutes, I enjoyed.
I agree. I thought that was really well done. And just
for me,
the look of, again, I love it, especially when here, I love it when women bleed in a match. It makes them look like warriors. It makes the match look legit. And no pun intended, it made Sasha look like a boss.
Nice.
Well, it did. She looked like a warrior. She looked like an athlete who was in a fight. That was blood done well. Not saying she should do it all the time. Not saying anybody should do it all the time.
Who are we kidding? She's going to have such a short career with how much she's pushing herself and pretty much breaking herself.
I know, but
she's going to have a very short career. Granted, it will be a memorable career, but a short one.
But in the meantime, for what we got, I dug it.
I didn't dig it as much. I wasn't really sold. For me, Bayley and Sasha was the better Iron Man match at NXT.
Agreed, but I thought this one was good. I enjoyed it for what it was.
Like I said, I only enjoyed the final 3 minutes because that's when actually it felt like it was actually telling a decent story with their wrestling. I didn't feel that for the match. Maybe it's just my bias for me wanting this feud to end because I'm tired of it, and I didn't give a shit when the match was started. I even posted on Twitter, I'm like, all right, let's get this over with.
I know for a fact you weren't the only one who felt that way.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad it's over. I'm actually very glad Charlotte won. I don't even know, normal. I've been picking Charlotte every time. The one time I don't pick Charlotte, I lose. I don't know why I did. And I said, it's probably just because I didn't care anymore. I just threw a name out just to throw a prediction. And that cost me a point. Damn it. But yeah, I'm actually glad what they're doing with Charlotte, how she's has the best first year on the main roster for winning, for pay-per-view singles match wise. She has won every singles match on a pay-per-view her first year. That's something, and they're comparing it as this is something that Hulk Hogan couldn't do, that The Undertaker couldn't do, Stone Cold couldn't do. She's making her. They're like, she is the queen, and I'm actually all for it. I'm like, she is a Flair,
and that's exactly right. That is, and it's for these kinds of reasons that makes me retain some hope in WWE that the machine, with all the talent they've got in there, despite a lot of missteps, historical missteps, as I'm sure we could all get into and have at some points. It's those kinds of things that, okay, even though we have to trudge through a whole bunch of crap and a whole bunch of missteps, it's moments like this that just plain work.
I'm just glad it's over.
Yeah.
I can't say anything
fresher.
Please, give the other women a chance.
We'll get there. I'm positive we will. But in the meantime, we also have a main event. Kevin Owens defeating Roman Reigns by DQ.
I got nothing really much to say about this, except I'm glad Kevin Owens got a lot of offense into this match. He was booked to look strong in this match.
As well they should have, which I admit I was one of those... I was kind of afraid that he would end up needing to... I'm used to the Super Cena kind of match where it just gets completely trounced and it's just like... Boo, boo, boo. But yeah, this is Roman, not Cena. He didn't get the boo, boo, boo.
Well, at least he acted like when he got the pop-up powerbomb, at least he didn't kick out. He put his foot on the rope.
Mm-hmm.
That if he kicked out of that, then it would be a completely different story. I'm not a big fan with the Jericho finish. And then there's like, oh no, we're still best friends, even though it looks like Jericho was the one plotting. It's like, oh, I'm really your friend. I'm just doing a show for you. I don't like that. I wasn't sold on it. For me, I'm gonna pull a Walking Dead. Like, this is something how most people felt, including you, fool. This was the Glenn under the dumpster moment.
Okay,
where it's like you gave us you really are making us believe that Jericho and Kevin Owens are really gonna break up, and then it turns out you're not making that happen. So when they actually do break up, it's not gonna be a big deal.
I see exactly what you mean.
That's how I looked at it. Even though, for Walking Dead wise, Glenn's death, even though I did see coming, it still hit me.
Mm.
It didn't take the dumpster kill didn't take away from anything because I knew he survived that.
Mm-hmm.
But you did. I remember how you felt about that. So for me, this whole Jericho Owens thing was the equivalent of that, and it was just also very disappointing when Rollins and Reigns both got their revenge by Shield power bombing Jericho and Owens through separate announce tables. The fans were really into it, and I think that actually hurt that end segment. I think the whole ending of from the match on hurt the show. Hurt the whole match segment.
Yeah, the execution wasn't quite there. And again, it certainly didn't help the overall impression of the show. But just to clarify an analogy here with the Walking Dead analogy, again, like you said, when the death finally occurred for realsies this time, it did have impact because it was all in the execution of it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just, oh yeah, he's dead. It's just, no. Negan showed up and Lucille'd him to oblivion and back. Again, all in the same thing here. If and when the breakup does happen, depending on the execution, like you said, it could be a total letdown and won't mean anything. Or if you take two guys who have the speaking talent and the charisma of a Jericho and a Kevin Owens, to me, there is still a chance that it could be really impactful and meaningful, or have some weight to it.
I hope so, but I'm just gonna pull that card. This is WWE.
But at the same time, it's also not Attitude Era WWE. On the one hand, it's WWE. On the other hand, it's WWE. If that makes sense.
It honestly doesn't for me.
Well, it does in my mind.
Okay.
It's the best answer I got.
All right.
At this point, I'm just glad Kevin Owens did not lose his title to Roman Reigns.
Oh, me too. But you never know how things are going to go for Royal Rumble.
But you know what? At that point, I will be watching the Royal Rumble. Mm-hmm. So that alone will be okay by me.
So let's talk facial hair ratings. What would you give Roadblock? End of the line.
I'm going to give it a good, solid, full beard. Again, considering the way the last and past roadblocks have been, and given what we got out of this one, I thought it was pretty solid. Not the best in the world, but far, far better than what we've got as far as the last show of a year. I've seen far worse, and this one was pretty satisfying for what it was, at least in my eyes.
For all the past roadblocks, you mean the one before? There was only
By
one.
By roadblocks, I'm also referring to the absolute last show of the year. before the new year and before we move on to Royal Rumble season.
Well, for me, I actually thought last year the first roadblock was better than this one, but it's not taking anything away from this one because certain aspects I enjoyed, but there was also aspects that I didn't enjoy. This event is another case of a glorified Raw. Is another case of it, and for me, it's just gonna go classic goatee. I'm gonna give it a 3, and it was a good show. It wasn't great.
For some reason,
nothing was memorable about it, or it didn't leave such an impact to be like, I can't wait to see what happens on Raw.
On second thought, I take that back. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5 too. For some reason, I had in my mind that a full beard was a 3.
I was thinking, man, you are being very generous to this event.
No, 3 out of 5.
I'm like, really? You're giving it a 4? Damn.
No, I'm giving it a 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting sleepy. It's been a long day. I apologize. But yeah, 3 out of 5. Classic goatee. Totally agree with you.
And I am very disappointed the fact that our predictions ended up being a 3-way tie. 4-4-4.
I'll take it.
Oh my god. I won't. I hate it. I'm like, no way. That's a cop-out.
Hey, just think about what we have to look forward to next month.
And for the Scully's show next week, I'm gonna look back on all the past prediction shows, and I'm gonna add them all up and see who got the most predictions right for the whole year.
You're seriously gonna do that? I'm
actually started that already.
Oh, good.
I'm
interested to see.
It's going to be easier for next year, Scullies, because, I actually created the scoreboard, so now I can actually save them all and just add them all up. But this, I actually have to go back to past episodes and just write down all the predictions. It's quite a challenge.
Merry Christmas to you, fool.
Yeah, right? Hopefully I will be done by the Scullies next week.
Hopefully I'll be done by next year.
Oh, we're not at that point yet.
Anyway, before we close out the show, let's talk a little Raw versus Smackdown.
Wait. Let's talk about a little Raw versus Smackdown live. All right, let's
talk about that.
All right, first let's talk about Raw. And from what you told me before we started recording, you don't remember most of it.
All I remember is that the segments with the not the anger management.
Dr. Shelby was not there.
I'm so used to talking about Dr. Shelby with a segment like this. That's the power of the Shelby. Okay, the sensitivity training segments with Enzo and everybody else. I thought that was funny.
I thought that was stupid.
It gave Enzo an opportunity to talk and be Enzo.
I enjoyed that. Actually, I enjoyed when he first got the letter and he was reading it and his just response, I gotta go back to class? Like, you know what? That got a happy nerve out of me. But the whole thing itself, with Bob Backlund and Darren Young doing their bit, I'm just like, Bo trying not to spread the power of Bo, the power of believing. My one question is Jinder Mahal Rusev's tag team partner now? Like, are we going to have Rusev and Jinder Mahal versus Enzo and Cass?
That's one possible thing they could do, I think.
Because what would be the point of Jinder Mahal beating him up with Rusev? I know they were having like a little heated argument during the sensitive training.
I'm guessing it's just a way to sort of prolong this feud. I didn't say it was the best. I'm just saying that's probably what they're thinking.
From the singles match that Rusev and Cass had that just ended in a disqualification because Big Cass was just beating the man up. Because, like I said back in the review of Roadblock, end of the line, he was just defending the honor of his wife. Why is he booked like a heel of a man defending his wife? God, this feud is so ridiculous. I hate it.
Because bad writing, that's why.
Enzo and Cass should be tag team champions. That's all I got to say. The only real highlight for me that for a positive standpoint for Raw is that it was the Braun Strowman show. Like once they had the whole segment of Cesaro and Sheamus getting their new Raw tag team titles. Speaking of which, what did you think of the new belts?
I had no problem with it. don't really know why they changed the color of the tag titles.
Well, they put the silver pieces like they have on the Smackdown belts. At least they're not pennies; they're silver dollars.
It wasn't that. It really, to me, wasn't that big of a change.
Well, it's just the straps are red and the belt, the centerpiece and the side pieces are just silver. I actually don't mind it. Like I said, it's better than having two big pennies.
To me, it was negligible, but that's just a matter of taste.
I actually don't mind it. Did they need it? No, but I don't mind it. It's not the end of the world for me. But yeah, the whole show was just Braun Strowman. Him getting so pissed off with the whole situation with him and Sami Zayn at Roadblock. And once he found out that Mick Foley gave Sami Zayn the night off, he went on a rampage. First destroying Titus O'Neil and Sin Cara and German suplexing a giant Christmas tree, which I think was awesome. I'm sorry, I thought... Cause he took the biggest tree and German suplexed that shit. I'm like, yeah, just do it, Braun, and throwing Sin Cara into the other trees and all the presents. I was like, you now have to suffer the consequences of Braun. And the fact that he showed up in the main event and took out Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, that was great. That was amazing.
Yeah, you can tell.
That is him slowly transcending into becoming a main eventer on Raw.
Exactly.
And it is perfect for him. His storyline is progressing at a natural rate, and it is working. He is working. His wrestling is working. Everything about Braun Strowman is working. And you hear the cheers he's getting. Some of them are vague, but you can hear he is getting over with the fans. He really is. And I'm over. I'm a huge Braun Strowman fan.
Again, as long as they take their time with him and they don't try and rush, everything will be fine.
As long as they don't give him the United States Championship by beating Roman Reigns to help Roman Reigns get the Universal Championship at Royal Rumble. As long as that doesn't happen, I'm all good. All right, and now let's talk about SmackDown. Did you watch any of SmackDown?
None whatsoever. I had to miss it this week.
God,
honestly.
I'm the one taking the full control over this segment. I
did check out the results, and will say this right now: it looks like Raw was by far the stronger show.
I will get to that in a minute. But
okay, fire away.
Positive number one: they had AJ Styles destroy James Ellsworth. I made it perfectly clear on this show.
Yep.
I despise James Ellsworth. I hate him. I hate him. I hate him. I hate everything about him. I hate his booking. I hate his look. I hate his face.
You hate his lack of chin.
I hate his lack of chin. Yes. Oh my! I'm so happy AJ Styles showed this man does not deserve to be in the world title picture at all. Oh my God! It was so refreshing to see him. He didn't even use a finishing move on him. It was the what does he call it? All the one forearm, and he kick, elbow, forearm, knockout, and then just simple pin, and then he destroyed him. And then they kind of had to ruin that by one thing, having the backstage interviewer, whatever her name is, say, "Our officials told me that James Ellsworth has been sent to a medical facility." Not even a second later, he comes through the door with the doctors, all taped up and have the ice thing on his neck. Oh! I was like, well, that just totally flipped off whatever you just said, backstage interviewer, whatever your name is.
New lady.
And she tries to interview him, and all he's saying is, "Oh, I hate you. God, you can't even, right, you stupid cartoon character.
You can't even be in pain right."
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's exactly it. And then, to make matters worse, Carmella shows up and says,
I
poor
saw.
baby,
That was weird.
Poor baby. Come, can't you see he's in pain? Come here, sweetie. Come here. Okay, James Ellsworth has made it clear on Talk is Jericho that he is a married man and has 2 kids. And now you have him booked having Big Cass's girlfriend show up and potentially start something with him? What logic is that?
You know what I would do? I would have, instead of having Carmella come out and help him out, I would just have James Ellsworth walk through the door, say absolutely nothing, and just spend $2.50 just to pull up a cardboard sign that just, it's like a Looney Tunes thing. Just have him pull up a sign that just says "ow," and just walk away, never to be seen again.
He should have just gotten destroyed by AJ to never be seen again. Like I said, as I call it now, I wish he was Hassan. Got destroyed by AJ Styles, and no one ever sees him again. James Ellsworth is a poison to SmackDown. He really is. But
I think he's slowly losing his luster.
He
already has.
Oh my God, he has.
I think that's kind of the point of that match.
But back to positive notes, because there was a lot more. That was the only negative that I ever got out of SmackDown. Positive, AJ Styles. The Miz successfully defending his Intercontinental Championship against Apollo Crews in a very great match. It was actually a match that Apollo Crews needed to show he actually can wrestle. He just was, like I said before, he was just brought up to the main roster too quick to before he could develop a successful character. But what made that whole thing great was when Renee Young interviewed him at the end of the show, where he's like, "I want to talk about your obsession with Dean Ambrose," and Miz just looks at her, he's like, "My obsession? No. If we're going to talk about an obsession with Dean Ambrose, let's talk about your obsession with Dean Ambrose, Renee. I mean, you should know. You're sleeping with the guy." I was like, "Oh my God, that is awesome!" And then how does Renee respond? With a good slap in the face. I'm like, "Oh my God, this is good." The Miz is right now one of the best things on SmackDown. He really is. And when you think things just can't get any better, you have Dolph Ziggler versus Baron Corbin for Dolph Ziggler's number one contender for this WWE World Championship or WWE Championship, whatever they're calling it now, for the championship match next week for the final of SmackDown Live. And how does it end? Great. It was a great match. I enjoyed it. It made Baron Corbin look strong. It made Baron Corbin look like he can be a future main eventer. And it ended in a double countout, I believe. I think it was a double countout, and then AJ Styles took them both out with a steel chair because AJ Styles was on commentary, and Baron Corbin threw Dolph Ziggler to AJ Styles. And now the main event for next week is Dolph Ziggler versus Baron Corbin versus AJ Styles for the WWE World Championship match. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm looking forward to next week. And now for my final thing, that is why I'm picking SmackDown. It was the better show. But as much like the only thing Raw had was the Braun Strowman bit. And the whole thing with Cesaro and Sheamus talking with the New Day, congratulating, Cesaro for outsmarting them. Which something we didn't talk about at Roadblock, I like how they New Day'd the New Day, as they say, with Cesaro faking the tag and taking the finishing move so Sheamus can get the pin and win. Then when they won, I liked that. That was what actually made that match of the night for me. I didn't say that when we were talking about it. Okay, back to this. SmackDown was the better show. It had more content that I was really invested in than Raw. That's all. That's really it. That there's nothing more else I can say. Once again, and it's actually showing because from what I've recently read, SmackDown's viewership took a big skyrocket. And it still hasn't passed Raw yet, but it's getting close.
Well, who knows? Maybe we're gonna see a legitimate Raw versus SmackDown brand split thing happening here. Well, either way, you heard from us. I've got Raw. He's got SmackDown. Now
wait, you chose Raw?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because you chose it on a technicality because you didn't watch SmackDown.
Yeah, and you know what?
Oh, wait,
I was legit.
You just said when you read the results that SmackDown was the better show.
No, it just seemed like there was something there.
Oh, okay. So you just chose Raw on a technicality.
Well, I was also plenty entertained enough by Raw. But anyway, you heard my opinion. You heard his opinion. Now we want to know what you think. So as always, let us know in the comments below. Let us know what you think. Which one you thought was better, Raw or SmackDown? What did you think of Roadblock? Let us know. Give us a thumbs up on the video if you like. If you like what you hear, subscribe if you want to hear more. Also check us out on Facebook. Just look for the Scholars of Wrestling Show, and you can also find us on Twitter. Check us out on our main page at Scholars OW. I'm slipping on my words again tonight.
There you go.
Now it's my time to wrap it up.
At least you can call it like it is.
You can also you can also check out our individual Twitter pages. You can find Scholar Brian, who's on hiatus, at Atomic Beanpole. Fool, where can they reach you?
You can find me at The Avataric.
And you can find me at I'm Robbie Rage. I am Robbie Rage, all one word.
At least you were very fluent with that one. I'll give you that.
Yes, the coffee's wearing off. Anyway, that's another week in the books. You know who we are. We are the Scholars of Wrestling, and you have just been schooled.
You're welcome.
See you next week for the Scully Awards.
This Cruiserweight conversation is not over.